Hey fourth graders, it's Mrs. Burke here, and today we are going to go back all the way to around December to take a look at division. And we're going to review two strategies today that you're familiar with. The first strategy we're going to work on is partial quotients, and you'll see this strategy in your classwork today. And then tomorrow in your classwork, you're going to see that area model. So we'll also take a look at that just to give you a little refresher. So the word partial quotients, that word partial means part, right? And a quotient is the answer in a division question. So when I say partial quotients, it means I'm gonna find the answer to my division question by breaking my number into parts and then putting all those parts together. That's where the phrase partial quotients comes from. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. So the first equation we're gonna try to solve using partial quotients is 792 divided by 6. And we're going to set it up like this. I have a nice big workspace area. Now, the beauty of partial quotients is you can work with facts that you are totally comfortable with. I only want to use facts that I know are 100% correct. So if I'm not comfortable with facts like 7 times 6 or 8 times 9, I'm not going to use those when I'm finding my parts. If I'm only comfortable with 5s, I'll start with 5s. Use the facts that you know for sure are going to be correct. So first comes first, I always like to think of my answers in hundreds, tens, and then ones. So I always try to get rid of my biggest chunk first. My goal is going to try to be to get this 792 all the way down to 0, all right? By taking away big chunks at first and then chipping away. So if I think about my hundreds facts, I know that 6 times 100 is 600, which I can take away. 6 times 200, well, 6 times 2 is 12, so 6 times 200 would be 1200, but I don't even have 1200, so that's too big. So I'm going to start with the fact 6 times 100 is 600. Now, some of your teachers like to stack up your parts right up top here. I tend to list them down the side. You can place them wherever you're most comfortable with. So I'm going to start with 6 times 100 gives me 600. And I'm going to subtract that from my dividend. I started with 792. If I take 600 away, I'm going to be left with 192, right? I can't take another part of 600 away from my dividend because I don't have 600 anymore. So I'm done with my hundreds, and now I'm going to move to the next biggest place value, which would be my tens. So I'm going to think about my tens facts by actually thinking about my basic facts I know. So 6 times 10, 6 times 20, 6 times 30, 6 times 40. All right. I know 6 times 2 is 12, so 6 times 20 would be 120. I could use that one. I also know 6 times 3 is 18, so 6 times 30 would be 180. That's even more of a chunk I could take. I can't do 6 times 40 because that would be 240, and I don't have 240 left. So I'm going to use that 30 part. 6 times 30, some of you might be stacking it up here, which is fine, is going to give me 180 because 6 times 3 is 18 times the 10 times the 10. And now I'm going to be left with 12. And now I'm down to my very basic fact. I did my hundreds, tens, and now I'm ready for my ones. 6 times what will give me 12? 6 times 2. And now I reached my goal of that 0 point. So I'm done taking my parts apart. And now I'm going to put them all together. So I had 100 and 30 and 2. 100 plus 30 plus 2 gives me a quotient of 132. All right? Let's try another one. Let's try 608 divided by 4. And for those of you who like to stack your parts on the top, I'll do it that way this time. As always, I have 608. My goal is to get it all the way down to 0. And I like to start with my largest place value, so I'm going to go towards my hundreds facts. So I know that 4 times 100 is 400. 4 times 200 is 800. That's too much. So I'm going to use the 4 times 100, and this time I'm putting them up top, equals 400. And that still leaves me with 208. I can't do 4 times 100 again because I don't have 400 left. So now I'm going to move to my tens, and I'm going to think of 4 times 10 times 20 times 30. All right, I love the times 5s because it's an easy fact to memorize. And I know that 4 times 5 is 20, which would mean 4 times 50 is, you got it, 200. When I subtract it, I'm now left with 8. So look at this, I've taken away 2 chunks and now I'm down to my last piece. 4 times what would be 8, or 8 divided by 4, 2. 4 times 2 is 8, and again I reached my goal of getting all the way to 0. So my final step, add up the parts. 100 plus 50 plus 2 is going to give me a quotient of 152. All right, now I'm going to do the next one, 963, one last one we'll do together, divided by 3, but this one I'm going to break up into a lot more parts. Let's say that I'm not very comfortable with all my math facts. I only know a few. I'm going to show you how you can still use that to get your answer. So here I know 3 times, I want to start with my hundreds. I know 3 times 100 is 300. I'm going to start there. What do I still have left? Yeah, 663. Well, I'm going to take away 100 again because I know I'm comfortable with that fact. I know that 3 times 100 is 300. And now I'm left with 363. I can take away another 100. And now I'm left with 63. All right, I don't know a lot of my 3 facts, but I always know 3 times 10 is 30. Now I'm left with 33. I'm going to do it again because I know that fact. 3 times 10 is 30. I'm left with 3. And 3 times 1 is 3. So this question took me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different parts. That's okay, because I know that I'm comfortable with all those. If I add them up, 100, 200, 310, 320, 321. That would be my answer. So it's okay if you have a lot of parts. As you practice and you get better with your flashcards and your math facts, you'll have less and less parts to add, okay? So that is partial quotients. Now we are going to solve the same 3 questions using the area model. So again, this is an organization thing. Your teachers might have in your class set it up a little differently. If you feel more comfortable doing it the way you learned in class, by all means, use that. But I'm just going to show you the way I use it with my students, and we'll all get the same answer. So my first question was 792. This time I'm going to set it up like this. And the reason I have this partitioned is because just like in partial quotients, I thought about my hundreds, then my tens, then my ones. I'm going to do the same thing with my area model. I'm going to think about my hundreds, my tens, and my ones. So I'm going to start, I still have this 792. 6 times what number is going to get me close to that 792? Hundreds-wise, 6 times 100. And what will I get? 600. I'm going to subtract those just like I was doing with partial quotients. 2 minus 0 is 2, 9 minus 0 is 9, 7 minus 6 is 1. Now I'm going to move this 192 over to my tens place, because now I'm going to focus on my 10 facts. 6 times 10 is 60. 6 times 20 is 120. 6 times 30 is 180. 6 times 40 is 240, and that's too much. So I'm going to use the 6 times 30 is 180. When I subtract it, I'm left with 12. Now I'm going to move that over and think about my ones facts. 6 times what will give me that 12? 2. 6 times 2 will give me the 12, and I won't have anything left. So now I'm going to add up the parts. 100 plus 30 plus 2 gives me a total of 132. Okay? So that's using the area model. And we'll do one more using the area model. Let's do that 963 divided by 3 one. So 963 divided by 3. So first up, I'm going to think about my hundreds. 3 times 100 is 300, but 3 times 200 gets me even closer to 600. And guess what? 3 times 300 brings me to 900. So I'm going to use that. And then I'm going to be left with 63, which I want to move over to my tens column. I know 3 times 10 is 30, but I also know that 3 times 20 will get me 60. And then I have 3 left, which I'm going to move over. See, I always draw those arrows as a reminder to move it on over. And then finally, 3 times 1 is 3, and I got my goal of 0. When I add up my hundreds, tens, and ones parts, I get 300 plus 20 plus 1 equals 321. So those are the 2 division strategies. Practice them both, right? Practice them both. Today you're going to focus on partial quotients. Remember, use the facts that you're comfortable with. Use the facts that you know are true, or that they're definitely correct, because the last thing you want to do is all your hard work and then it was wrong because of a math fact mistake. Okay, so stick with the facts you're comfortable with. Take your time, and good luck. I miss everyone. Looking forward to doing more videos with you. See you guys soon. Have a great day.